Yeah.
There's also chicken spaghetti in the oven.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
All right. Hello. Thank you again for joining us for today's Bible reading. I'm Khalil, and this is Xavier. And today we're going to be continuing our reading of Genesis. Today we're going to be starting with Genesis 24. Last time we had finished with the Lord confirming his covenant with Abraham through his son Isaac, the Lord honoring the faith of Abraham that he showed through being willing to sacrifice his son Isaac to the Lord, proving his faith, so the Lord confirmed his covenant with him. And then we had the death of his wife Sarah. And now we're going to be moving on to Isaac being sort of more so the protagonist of what we're going to see throughout the rest of Genesis until, again, we'll see that protagonist then changes once again. But still, point being, today is February 6th, so today we'll be starting with our daily proverb, so we'll be going to Proverbs 6. Alright, so Proverbs 6 and verse 1. My son, if thou be surety for thy friend, if thou hast stricken thy hand with a stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. Do this now, my son, and deliver thyself. When thou art come into the hand of thy friend, go, humble thyself, and make sure thy friend. Give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyelids. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as a bird from the hand of the fowler. So, when I look at that, I see it's in the same way as the book says, do not let the sun go down upon your wrath. Or even where to be quick to forgive. Or even further, where it talks about the tongue being full of deadly poison, it's a world of iniquity, and so on and so forth. Is that here, there's just sort of an example play. Don't essentially let your words separate you from your chief friends, or don't let your words separate you from others. And if you've done it wrong, be quick to rectify that. Where, my son, if thou be surety of thy friend, if thou hast stricken thine hand with a stranger, thou art snared with the words of thy mouth, thou art taken with the words of thy mouth. So, if you have done aught against somebody, against your friend, or he says, thou hast stricken thine hand with a stranger, do this now, my son, and deliver thyself. So he's saying, this is what you should do to save yourself. When thou art come into the hand of thy friend, go, humble thyself, and make sure thy friend. So, ask to be forgiven. Apologize if you have done something wrong, or when you have done something wrong. To give not sleep to thine eyes, nor slumber to thine eyelids. Don't even, the same way as don't go to bed angry, don't even go to sleep without having sought that forgiveness. Because he says, make sure thy friend. This is your make sure he's okay, that you guys still are friends, you still have a relationship. Deliver thyself as a roe from the hand of the hunter, and as the bird from the hand of the fowler. Because at the end of the day, it's only going to be to your own hurt that you have essentially burned a bridge, or have done, caused harm in whatever meaning. It eventually will, be to your own detriment. Yeah. So that you get to see from those verse 5. Verse 6. Go to the ant, thou sluggard, consider her ways, and be wise, which having no guide, overseer, or ruler, provideth her meat in the summer, and gathereth her food in the harvest. How long wilt thou sleep, O sluggard? When wilt thou arise out of thy sleep? Yet a little sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to sleep. So shall thy poverty come as one that travelleth, and thy want as an armed man. So from that, this sluggard is, you can even think of it as directly as a slug, where you're lazy, you can move slow, where He's telling the sluggard directly. So people who are lazy, people who don't want to work. He's like, consider an ant. Consider her ways and be wise. Which essentially, having no guide, having no ruler, that they work. Well, ants, they will gather, and we'll see ants all the time. They'll gather, they'll bring things back to their hive, they'll to their colony rather, and they'll even store up, as we now know, they'll even store up food. Where if an ant is capable of working, a literal insect, we should be able to put in work as well. Where the book will even go as far as to say, even in Proverbs, that sluggard will not even raise his hand to feed himself. He won't even raise his hand to eat bread. But this can even go farther as us as Christians, as people who want to serve God, that, well, we should be doing that. Serving God. Serving God is work, and it requires work. And we shouldn't be sluggish or a sluggard in the Lord's business either. So that even fits what's saying here. That the same way we would feed ourselves, quite literally, physically, we should be working to feed ourselves spiritually as well, because we can't be sluggards in either capacity. Yeah. So, verse 12. A naughty person, a wicked man, walketh with a froward mouth. He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers. Frowardness is in his heart, he deviseth mischief continually, he soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly. Suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. These 6 things doth the Lord hate. Yea, 7 are an abomination unto him. A proud look, a lying tongue, and hands that shed innocent blood. A heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. So even here, Proverbs spends a lot of time talking about not only the wicked woman, but also just like the wickedness and righteousness in general. But here, a naughty person of wicked walketh with a froward heart. He winketh with his eyes, he speaketh with his feet, he teacheth with his fingers. So they will do anything, any wickedness, do anything to get ahead, right? Frowardness in his heart, he deviseth mischief continually, he soweth discord. Therefore shall his calamity come suddenly, suddenly shall he be broken without remedy. And this fits a pattern that we know throughout the book. And actually really fits well because we just read Sodom and Gomorrah, is that the end of wickedness, even though it may look good, it may look nice, in the beginning it always leads to destruction, which even fits like the path that like Lot had with Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot picked Sodom because he said it looked really nice, it looked really great, it was this great, beautiful land. But then we know obviously how that ended up. That land got brutally destroyed because of their wickedness. But even before that, Lot was getting his door beat down by the city of Sodom in order to rape 2 visitors he had. Mm-hmm. So even before the city got destroyed, Lot was experiencing the wickedness and how bad it really was. So always at the end of picking wickedness is just going to be destruction. It's going to be bad. So for people we even see like this in our lives, where they will do wickedness and it feels like, well, they got away with it, or they even get ahead from doing it. So the end of it's always going to be bad. And that even leads into really well, I think, into 16, because it's talking about wickedness, the things that the Lord hates. Yea, 7 are abomination. Abomination meaning something that is like ultimately very disgusting. Like, just, I cannot even look, I cannot be near this thing. You can think of it just like a rotting corpse in your room. Like, you don't even want to be in the room. So this is like what the Lord despises wickedness. And he says a proud look, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that deviseth wicked imaginations, feet that be swift in running to mischief, a false witness that speaketh lies, and he that soweth discord among brethren. And even these, a lot of these things, like, of course we have hands that shed innocent blood, but these other 6 things, they are things that at least I would say, are fairly commonplace in the world today, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like a proud look, someone who's just arrogant. I feel as though everyone has met someone who is arrogant. I'm not even talking about like they have to be the worst type of arrogance, but just plainly arrogant or proud. I feel like we've all met that person, right? A liar, a lying tongue. This is said twice here. A false witness that speaketh lies, and the lying tongue. The Lord talks about lying twice, 2 separate times. We've all met a liar or have heard a lie before. It's just that commonplace. We are lied to all the time nowadays. There's AI. AI exists. That's just nothing but lies. You're lied to in video form. The video itself is a lie now. Where the world is full of it. Same, a heart devised wicked imaginations. You see that. Feet that be swift and running to mischief. You see that all the time. He that sowed discord among brethren, rumor mongers, gossips, all that sort of backbiters, as the book will also call it too. It's all of that is what we see, but all of these things are what the Lord hates. Which also it's a really good example too as well. Even with like Lot's wife having just all she did was turn back and look at Sodom, and she got turned into a pillar of salt. Which really shows that to the Lord really is just a matter of obedience. Like the book also puts, obedience is better than sacrifice. The Lord just wants you to listen. It doesn't really matter to him how small we may feel as though the thing is. It was just one line. It was just I just said I didn't kill anyone. I didn't do this or I didn't do that. And the Lord doesn't really care.
I just ate a piece of bacon.
Yeah, all that. The Lord doesn't really care. Regardless, I told you not to do it, so you shouldn't have done it. It doesn't matter if you didn't think it was that bad. Because to me, it was all the same. Like he lists all these 6 things, or these 7 that are abomination to him. He lists them all the same. He doesn't go, well, this one's worse than this. It's all just, I hate these 7 things. These 7 things are an abomination to me. Outright. So, and like as the previous verses show, that end to that stuff is always just destruction. But verse 20. My son, keep thy father's commandment and forsake not the law of thy mother. Even then, like we know this is Solomon writing this, but even then, like the Lord speaking through him as constantly talks about his prophets. His prophets were moved by the Holy Spirit as they wrote the books. And we know even Abraham was considered a prophet, so even Solomon in the same way. But my keep thy father's commandments, forsake not the law of thy mother. We know the law with this book of the Lord. Bind them continually upon thine heart, so have them continually within thee, and tie them about thy neck. When thou goest, it shall lead thee. When thou sleepest, it shall keep thee. And when thou awakest, it shall talk with thee. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is light. And reproof and instruction are the way of light. This even goes back to, like we saw, wickedness leads to your destruction, it leads to death. These are the things that the Lord hates. But you know what the Lord hates, and you know what the Lord loves, what is light to the Lord, and what is a lamp, the ways of life, what instruction through this book. This law is our instruction. That's he says strictly, reproofs of instruction are the way of life. If you are reproved, which means you are told better and you turn away from the way of wickedness, the things that the Lord hates, as 16 puts it, right? And you turn to it, you turn to the instruction you've been told in God, the law, like this book, it is a way of life, because you avoid that death. 24. To keep thee from the evil woman, from the flattery of the tongue of a strange woman. This is something like strange woman is talked about constantly in Proverbs. We talked about before, the strange woman really being both literal, physical, and metaphorical, spiritual. And that it could be a literal person trying to deceive you, a literal woman, or even just a different person. But also could be false doctrine. It could be your own lusts trying to turn you away from God. It could be really anything that really is pulling you away from what he says the way of life of instruction. It is that strange woman. But that's what this law is really for, to keep you away from the strange woman, as Proverbs 5 put it, to give you the discretion of wisdom. Lust not after her beauty in thine heart, neither let her take thee with her eyelids, even as we saw in Genesis with Eve, where she said like she looked upon this fruit and it appeared to be good unto knowledge. We know that wasn't literal fruit. That was just what Eve was hearing from the words of Satan. They're like, oh yeah, that's some good stuff he's telling me. So even here again, not always literal about like a physical woman's beauty. That's all in the same way that Eve was deceived like with the sweet, beautiful words of Satan. It can be the same way with us. For by means of a whorish woman, a man is brought to a piece of bread. He's brought to poverty. And the adulteress will hunt for the precious life. Can a man take fire in his bosom and his clothes not be burned? Can one go upon hot coals and his feet not be burned? This is probably one of my favorite spots in the Bible because it's true. It puts it plainly. How can you do that? How can you do this thing? How can you do wickedness and not expect wickedness to come back upon you and not get destruction back in turn? How can you take fire into your bosom? How can you not pull fire towards you and be surprised when you're burned? You can't. You can't be surprised. That literally is just what happens, right? If I were to touch a fire, I would get burned. And it's the same way with wickedness. That is just the natural course of that action. You're just going to face the consequences of it. So he that goeth into his neighbor's wife to commit adultery, whosoever toucheth her shall not be innocent. Men do not despise a thief if he still to satisfy his soul when he's hungry. So we have that today too. People sometimes steal because they're hungry. Or people even steal because of other reasons that they're in poverty. Like the people are in great debt, like they're going to lose their house. Someone has medical bills. You aren't mad at people who steal for that reason because, like, man, I get it. You're desperate. It's not for greed. You're just desperate. You just really needed that money for whatever reason, right? 31. But if he be found, he shall restore sevenfold. He shall give all the substance of his house. But that there are, even in the book, there was a law that if the thief was found, he had to pay back what he had stolen, like as it puts here, sevenfold. And even now, just because someone had a good reason for stealing, they're still going to go to jail, or they're at least going to still be arrested and taken to court, right? 32. But whoso committeth adultery with a woman lacketh understanding. He that doeth it destroyeth his own soul. But someone who's committing adultery, again, this would be both physical and spiritual, because the Lord is, as the book puts it, the Lord is supposed to be our husband. So we're committing adultery against him every time we serve other gods, or we just turn against him in any way, just in committing sin. There's no excuse. A woman, you lack an understanding, right? You don't have wisdom because you aren't doing the smart thing. You're going against God. And you destroy your own soul. There's no excuse. 33. A wound and dishonor shall he get, and his reproach shall not be wiped away. For jealousy is the rage of a man. Therefore he will not spare in the day of vengeance. Again, that's even talking literal. If you were to sleep with a man's wife, that man will be mad, and he may pull out a shotgun, while spiritually the Lord will be upset, and he will destroy you in the same way. Because you have committed adultery against me. 35. He will not regard any ransom, neither will he rest content, though thou givest many gifts. And nothing at the end of the day will really stop him. Again, being both ends, right? Both literal dude and God in the same way. And yeah, I think that's really Proverbs 6, a really good spot, just talking about wickedness. It's just hey, at the end of it, you turn against God, your end will only be destruction. And the book being, the law being your light, and the proof of instruction, telling you the right way to walk. It is your way of life. It's how you live. But, yeah, I think we're good for Genesis 24.
I'll read 24.
Okay, cool.
You can just stop.
Oh, okay.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Alright. So chapter 24, verse 1. And Abraham was old and well stricken in age, and the Lord had blessed Abraham in all things. And Abraham said unto his eldest servant of his house, that ruled over all that he had, Put, I pray thee, thy hand under my thigh, and I will make thee swear by the Lord, the God of heaven and the God of earth, that thou shalt not take a wife unto my son of the daughter of the Canaanites, among whom I dwell. But thou shalt go unto my country and to my kindred, and take a wife unto my son. And the servant said unto him, Peradventure the woman will not be willing to follow me unto this land. Must I needs bring thy son again unto the land from whence thou camest? And Abraham said unto him, Beware thou that thou bring not my son thither again. The Lord God of heaven, which took me from my father's house, and from the land of my kindred, and which spake unto me, and that sware unto me, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land. He shall send his angel before thee, and thou shalt take a wife unto my son from thence. And if the woman will not be willing to follow thee, then thou shalt be clear from this my oath. Only bring not my son thither again. And the servant put his hand under the thigh of Abraham his master, and sware to him concerning that matter. And the servant took 10 camels of the camels of his master, and departed. For all the goods of his master were in his hands. And he arose, and went to Mesopotamia unto the city of Nahor. And he made his camels to kneel down without the city by a well of water at the time of the evening, even the time that women go out to draw water. And he said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, I pray thee, send me good speed this day, and show kindness unto my master Abraham. Behold, I stand here by the wells of the water, and the daughters of the men of the city come out to draw water. And let it come to pass that the damsel to whom I shall say, Let down thy pitcher, I pray thee, that I may drink, and she shall say, Drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. Let the same be she that thou hast appointed for thy servant Isaac, and thereby shall I know that thou hast showed kindness unto my master. And it came to pass, before he had done speaking, that behold, Rebekah came out, who was born to Bethuel, son of Milcah, the wife of Nahor, Abraham's brother, with her pitcher upon her shoulder. And the damsel was very fair to look upon, a virgin, neither had any man known her. And she went down to the well, and filled her pitcher, and came up. And the servant ran to meet her, and said, Let me, I pray thee, drink a little water of thy pitcher. And she said, Drink, my lord. And she hasted, and let down her pitcher upon her hand, and gave him drink. And when she had done giving him drink, she said, I will also draw water for thy camels also, until they have done drinking. And she hasted, and emptied her pitcher into the trough, and ran again unto the wells to draw water, and drew for all his camels. And the man, wondering at her, held his peace, to wit, whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. And it came to pass, as the camels had done drinking, that the man took a golden earring of 1/2 shekel weight, and 2 bracelets for a hand of 10 shekels weight of gold, and said, Whose daughter art thou? Tell me, I pray thee, is there room in thy father's house for us to lodge in? And she said unto him, I am the daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bare unto Nahor. She said moreover unto him, We have both straw and provender enough, and room to lodge in. And the man bowed down his head and worshipped the Lord. And he said, Blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who hath not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I, being in the way, the Lord led me to the house of my master's brother.
I think this is a really good example, just what we've seen so far in the chapter, that of like prayer being, not only prayer, but faith being a really good way, just essentially a way, not only a way to like determine things in your life, right? But also just of like accepting what you get like within a prayer, or with like within your faith as well. Because like the dude was like told by everyone, like, hey, like I really want you to go, like, I don't want my son marrying Canaanites because they're still in the land of Canaan, right? So I like just go over to this land over here and go just find someone for my son to marry. And he's like, shoot, how do I figure out just how to find a good wife in like the 5 days I'm out here? So like, shoot, it's like, okay, God, he just essentially based on like whoever like will like be the wife of this dude of Isaac, Abraham's son. Let her like give me water to drink, and then no one's giving water to drink, and he's like, shoot, I don't know if like everything's happening. And then just straight up, Rebecca comes, and she's like, hey, you good? He's like, oh yeah. He's like, oh, basically runs to her like, oh yeah, I would love some water, and she's like, okay, here's some. I'll also get some for your camels. And I'll double plays him, and he's like, shoot, I don't know if this is it or not. That's like even what he's saying at the end of 21. To wit whether the Lord had made his journey prosperous or not. So he's wondering, is the Lord answering my prayer here? And he's like, okay, where are you from? And she's like, oh, I'm like from Abraham's lineage, like his brother. I'm his brother's like granddaughter. I think like his granddaughter. Yeah. The daughter of Bethuel, the son of Milcah, which she bare unto Nahor. So like this is like his grand niece, I guess would be the word out. But like now he's like, oh, okay, this legitimately is part of his family. This is the perfect person. And God brought her to him. But it's that thing of like where he had to walk out on faith in that little bit just to be like, hey, Lord, I don't know what I'm doing. Just give me some general direction. Which at times can be hard for us to do nowadays, to where something as this direct may not necessarily happen, but you have to have faith. Like the Lord is going to show you, He's going to guide you, right? Especially within your prayers. That's all I have to say about that stuff. I just think it's a good example of that.
It is. Verse 27. And he said, blessed be the Lord God of my master Abraham, who hath not left destitute my master of his mercy and his truth. I being in the way, and the Lord led me to the house of my master's brother. And the damsel ran, and told them of her mother's house these things. And Rebekah had a brother, and his name was Laban. And Laban ran out unto the man, unto the well. And it came to pass, when he saw the earring and bracelet upon his sister's hand, and when he heard the words of Rebekah his sister, saying, thus spake the man unto me, that he came unto the man. And behold, he stood by the camels at the well. And he said, come in, thou blessed of the Lord. Wherefore standest thou without? For I have prepared the house and room for the camels. And the man came into the house, and he ungirded his camels, and gave straw and provender for the camels, and water to wash his feet, and the men's feet that were with him.
I think also a really good point is that, you know, the book even talks about like many friends have them who are rich, and he is poor, has zero friends. We know we'll see more of Laban later, but we know who Laban is. The moment he sees this man's got money, he's like, hey, dude, what you doing out here? Come in. We got the house, we got the crib ready for you. We got the people wash your feet, take care of your camel. Get in here, pal. Get in here, you good friend. Where it's just like, and I feel like it's just a really good example of that. Just how, like the book says, money is a defense, wisdom is a defense. And we know wisdom gives you a lot more. But the truth is, money is a defense. Money gives you stuff. You flash money in a lot of places, you get a lot of good. But yeah,
that's a fact.
Yeah.
32. And the man came into the house, and he ungirded his camels, and gave straw and provender for the camels, and water to wash his feet, and the men's feet that were with him. And there was set meat before him to eat. But he said, I will not eat until I have told mine errand. And he said, speak on. And he said, I am Abraham's servant, and the Lord hath blessed my master greatly, and he is become great, and he hath given him flocks and herds, and silver and gold, and men servants, and maid servants, and camels and asses. And Sarah my master's wife bare a son to my master when she was old. And unto him hath he given all that he had. And my master made me swear, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife to my son of the daughter of the Canaanites, in whose land I dwell. But thou shalt go into my father's house, into my kindred, and take a wife unto my son. And I said unto my master, Peradventure the woman will not follow me. And he said unto me, The Lord, before whom I walk, will send his angel with thee, and prosper thy way. And thou shalt take a wife from my son of my kindred, and of my father's house. Then shalt thou be clear from this my oath, when thou comest to my kindred. And if they give not thee one, thou shalt be clear from mine oath. And I came this day unto the well, and said, O Lord God of my master Abraham, if now thou do prosper my way which I go, behold, I stand by the well of water. And it shall come to pass that when the virgin cometh forth to draw water, and I say to her, Give me, I pray thee, a little water of thy pitcher to drink. And she say to me, Both drink thou, and I will also draw for thy camels. Let the same be the woman whom the Lord hath appointed out of my master's son. And before I had done speaking in mine heart, behold, Rebekah came forth with her pitcher on her shoulder, and she went down unto the well and drew water. And I said unto her, Let me drink, I pray thee. And she made haste, and let down her pitcher from her shoulder, and said, Drink, and I will give thy camels drink also. So I drank, and she made the camels drink also. And I asked her and said, Whose daughter art thou? And she said, The daughter of Bethuel, Nahor's son, whom Milcah bare unto him. And I put the earring upon her face, and the bracelets upon her hand. And I bowed down mine head and worshipped the Lord, and blessed the Lord God of my master Abraham, which had led me in the right way to take my master's brothers' daughters unto his sons. And now if you will deal kindly and truly with my master, tell me, and if not, tell me, that I may turn to the right hand or to the left. Then Laban and Bethuel answered and said, The thing proceedeth from the Lord. We cannot speak unto thee bad or good. Behold, Rebekah is before thee. Take her and go, and let her be thy master's son's wife, as the Lord hath spoken. And it came to pass that when Abraham's servants heard their words, he worshipped the Lord, bowing himself to the earth. And the servant brought forth jewels of silver, and jewels of gold, and raiment, and gave them to Rebekah. He gave also to her brother and to her mother precious things. And they did eat and drink, he and the men that were with him, and tarried all night. And they rose up in the morning, and he said, Send me away unto my master. And her brother and her mother said, Let the damsel abide with us a few days, at the least 10. After that she shall go. And he said unto them, Hinder me not, seeing the Lord hath prospered my way. Send me away that I may go to my master. And they said, We will call the damsel and inquire at her mouth. And they called Rebekah and said unto her, Wilt thou go with this man? And she said, I will go. And they sent away Rebekah their sister, and her nurse, and Abraham's servant, and his men. And they blessed Rebekah, and said unto her, Thou art our sister. Be thou the mother of thousands, of millions, and let thy seed possess the gates of those which hate thee. And Rebekah arose, and her damsel, and they rode upon the camels, and followed the man. And the servant took Rebekah and went his way. And Isaac came from the way of the well, Lahairoi, for he dwelt in the south country. And Isaac went out to meditate in the field at the eventide. And he lifted up his eyes, and saw, and behold, the camels were coming. And Rebekah lifted up her eyes, and when she saw Isaac, she lighted off the camel. For she had said unto the servant, What man is this that walketh in the field to meet us? And the servant had said, It is my master. Therefore she took a veil and covered herself. And the servant told Isaac all the things that he had done. And Isaac brought her into his mother Sarah's tent, and took Rebekah, and she became his wife, and he loved her. And Isaac was comforted after his mother's death.
Yeah. Beautiful love story. Isaac and Rebekah. Love at first sight, as they say. Yeah. Still crazy, like with Laban. We'll see Laban more later again. But even still, he tries to stretch out the point to try to keep Rebekah even and still. And then just had to be like, oh, okay, well, Rebecca, do you really want to go? She's like, yeah, I'll go. I mean, yeah. I'll marry this dude. But, yeah. And then, like, this is, like, post Sarah, Isaac getting his wife, Rebecca. Yeah, there's not much more to it to that. But Laban's definitely a player that we'll see a bit later. But, yeah. That, I think we can go ahead to 25. Yeah. Pick it up at 1. Then again, Abraham took a wife, and her name was Keturah. And she bare him Zimram, and Jokshan, and Medan, and Midian, and Ishbak, and Shua, and Jokshan begat Sheba, and Dedan. And the sons of Dedan were Ashurim, and Letushim, and Leuman. And the sons of Midian, Ephah, and Epher, and Hanok, and Abida, and Eldah. All these were the children of Keturah. So this is even a point that isn't people don't bring up a lot. But even after Abraham had Isaac, he had more kids. But we'll even see how this plays out. It's the same story as with Ishmael. They're not part of the covenant through which the Lord had given to Abraham, and that we know he had passed down to Isaac, as even the last chapter sort of stated a few times. That it was still that was not Ishmael or any of the kids, or Zimran, Jokshan, Medan, Midian, so on and so forth, or any of the kids he had after Isaac, any of the kids of Keturah, right? And we can see that very clearly as we move on, verse 5. And Abraham gave all that he had unto Isaac. Clear as day, it was Isaac's to have. Verse 6. But unto the sons of the concubines, which Abraham had, Abraham gave gifts and sent them away from Isaac his son, while he yet lived eastward unto the east country. So he gave them gifts, he gave them stuff, but he sent them away because the promise that Abraham's seed would inherit the land of Canaan, like he said, from the river of Egypt being the Nile until the river Euphrates, that was not meant for these kids. He was talking about Isaac, or even that all through your seed all the earth would be blessed. Again, really talking about Jesus. Again, none of those kids. It was Isaac. It always was Isaac. Isaac was even the kid that he had to almost sacrifice. Verse 7. And these are the days of the years of Abraham's life, which he lived 160 years. So even Abraham only lived 175 years. Where, you even Noah, just a few generations ago, lived 600. So it even shows how, that time just went down and down. But verse 8. Then Abraham gave up the ghost and died in a good old age, an old man and full of years, and was gathered to his people. And his sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah, in the field of Ephron, the son of Zohar the Hittite, which is before Mamre. The field which Abraham purchased of the sons of Heth, there was Abraham buried, and Sarah's wife. So he was buried in the same place he had, in chapter 23, he had bought for Sarah. And it came to pass after the death of Abraham that God blessed his son Isaac. And Isaac dwelt by the well Laharoy. Now these are the generations of Ishmael, Abraham's son, whom Hagar the Egyptian, Sarah's handmaid, bare unto Abraham. And these are the names of the sons of Ishmael, by their names according to their generations. The firstborn of Ishmael, Nabajah, and Kedar, and Abdil, and Mibsam, and Mishma, and Dumah, and Mesa, Hadar, and Tema, Jeter, Naphish, and Kedemah. These are the sons of Ishmael, and these are their names, by their towns, and by their castles, 12 princes according to their nations. To remember before, the Lord, when Abraham had to kick out Ishmael, he said, I will also make him a great nation. I'll give him 12 princes. So here's the fulfilling of that, even there. Verse 17. These are the years of the life of Ishmael, 137 years old, 7 years. And he gave up the ghost and died, and was gathered unto his people. And they dwelled from Havilah unto Shur, that is before Egypt, as a ghost toward Assyria. And he died in the presence of all his brethren. And these are the generations of Isaac, Abraham's son. Abraham begat Isaac, and Isaac was 4 years old when he took Rebekah to wife, the daughter of Bethuel, the Syrian of Padanaram, the sister to Laban the Syrian. And Isaac entreated the Lord for his wife, because she was barren. And the Lord was entreated of him, and Rebekah his wife conceived. And the children struggled together within her. And she said, If it be so, why am I thus? And she went to inquire of the Lord. So she has twins, but they're fighting even like in her womb. She's like, what's going on? 23. And the Lord said unto her, 2 nations are in thy womb, and 2 manner of people shall be separated from thy bowels, and the one people shall be stronger than the other people, and the elder shall serve the younger. So the Lord's saying you essentially got 2 different nations within your womb. Like you have 2 different sets of people. Like Ishmael, all of his kids, they're the Ishmaelites. But her, you have 2 separate people, like what ends up being 2 separate peoples in your womb right now. And one's going to be more powerful than the other. Like he says, the elder shall serve the younger, the younger is going to be stronger. Verse 24. And when her days to be delivered were fulfilled, behold, there were twins in her womb. And the first came out red, all over like an hairy garment. And they called his name Esau, Esau the elder. And after that, came his brother out, and his hand took a hold on Esau's heel. And his name was called Jacob. And Isaac was 80 years old when she bare them. And the boys grew, and Esau was a cunning hunter, a man of the field, and Jacob was a plain man dwelling in tents. And Isaac loved Esau because he did eat of his venison, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Which you could even say, I would sometimes like to think that was because of what the Lord had directly told her. That Jacob, the younger, would rule over the elder. He would be the stronger of the 2. 29. And Jacob saw pottage, and Esau came from the field, and he was faint. And Esau said to Jacob, Feed me, I pray thee, with that same red pottage, for I am faint. Therefore was his name called Edom. And Jacob said, Sell me this day thy birthright. So his birthright as the firstborn. And Esau said, Behold, I am at the point to die, and what profit shall this birthright do to me? And Jacob said, Swear to me this day. He sware it to him, and he sold his birthright unto Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau bread and pottage of lentils, and he did eat and drink, and rose up, and went his way. Thus Esau despised his birthright. So Esau sold his birthright to Jacob, essentially like his right as the firstborn. So in the same way as Sarah wanted to have Hagar and Ishmael kicked out because she said, hey, I will not have him be heir with my son. I'll have Ishmael be heir with Isaac, where Isaac is the heir, and Ishmael's like, well, no, he's not going to inherit any of this. It's the same way, where typically the firstborn would be the heir of everything, right? But even here we know that the Lord said that the younger would be stronger than the elder. But here, Esau sold his birthright. So now his right as the heir, he literally just gave away to Jacob for a red pottage of lentils. And lentils are great, but it's not worth your inheritance. So that's why it says Esau despised his birthright, which I truly cannot ever understand. Like, the man really must have been... I mean, like, it does say he despised his birthright, but the man really must have also been hungry. I mean, I feel like that... Lentils aren't even that good. He hunted for a living. Lentils couldn't have been that good. I don't know, maybe Jacob just made mean stew. I don't know. Still to the point. We have Jacob and Esau. Jacob to eventually be the ruler. He's now also the main man having the inheritance. And, yeah... So we'll move on from there. Chapter 26.
Okay.
Yeah? Alright, cool.
And there was a famine in the land, besides the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. And Isaac went unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines, unto Gerar. And the Lord appeared unto him and said, Go not down into Egypt, dwell in the land which I shall tell thee of. Sojourn in this land, and I will be with thee, and I will bless thee. For unto thee and unto thy seed I will give all these countries, and I will perform the oath which I swear unto Abraham thy father. And I will make thy seed to multiply as the stars of heaven, and will give unto thy seed all these countries. And in thy seed shall all the nations of the earth be blessed, because that Abraham obeyed my voice, and kept my charge, my commandments, my statutes, and my laws. And Isaac dwelt in Gerar. And the men of the place asked him of his wife. And he said, She is my sister. for he feared to say, She is my wife. Lest, said he, the men of the place should kill me for Rebekah, because she was fair to look upon.
Right. So here we have, and this is a very similar, like they says directly beside the first famine that was in the days of Abraham. This is something we've seen before, even in the same area, where there's a famine in the land Canaan. So they go to the land, to Gerar, into the land of the Philistines, unto Abimelech, king of the Philistines. We don't know if this is the same Abimelech that Abraham talked to. This may have been his son, Abimelech Jr. We don't really know. But still, to the point, what is more important is that here we have the Lord confirming his covenant with Isaac, again after the death of Abraham. Because Abraham, like he says directly, because that Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge and my commandments and my statutes and my laws, so Abraham passed it down now to Isaac. And the Lord promises the same thing. I'll make thy seeds to multiply as the stars of heaven, will give unto thy seed all these countries. Again, the land of Canaan, he promises from the river Euphrates until the Nile River. Unto thy seed, all these countries, and in thy seed shall the nations of the earth be blessed. And we know that eventually comes to pass even through Christ. But still, to the point, while he's dwelling in Gerar, he does the same thing, which you have to wonder if Abraham told him to do that, right? You have to wonder if Abraham told him this is the exact same play his father did, or maybe DNA is just that strong.
Like father, like son.
Like father, like son. Where he's like, no, this isn't my wife, this is my sister. Well, Abraham did have the excuse that Sarah technically was his wife. Was his sister, his half-sister. His father had a kid had Sarah with a different woman than his mother. Isaac and Rebekah were only cousins. So the sister excuse technically is not true. It's not technically true like it was with Abraham. So, but he has the same fear that he would be killed for Rebekah. So I guess Sarah and Rebekah were just that nice. Yeah, that's all for me.
Verse 8. And it came to pass, when he had been there a long time, that Abimelech, king of the Philistines, looked out a window, and saw, and behold, Isaac was sporting with Rebekah his wife. And Abimelech called Isaac, and said, Behold, of a surety she is thy wife. And how saidest thou, She is my sister? And Isaac said unto him, Because I said, Lest I die for her. And Abimelech said, What is this that thou hast done unto us? One of the people might lightly have lied with thy wife, and thou shouldest have brought guiltiness upon us. And Abimelech charged all his people, saying, He that toucheth this man or his wife shall surely be put to death. Then Isaac sowed in the land, and received in the same year 100-fold, and the Lord blessed him. And the men waxed great, and went forward, and grew until he became very great. For he had possessions of flocks, and possessions of herds, and a great store of servants. And the Philistines envied him. For all the wells which his father's servants had digged in the days of Abraham his father, the Philistines had stopped them and filled them with earth.
Right. So even here, again, you have to wonder if Abimelech also, or this is the original Abimelech, he remembered Abraham and was just like, I'm not falling for this again. Or he told his son, he's like, son, don't fall for this trick. To where he came them supporting. You don't really know what they were doing something to where he knew that was his wife. It had to be, not his sister. But even then, I love the callback of that Abraham dwelt with, whether this is the same Abimelech or whoever, he dwelt in the land of the Philistines, Gerar, for a while, and he built them a lot of wealth to where, like, the king, a few chapters back, was even like, hey, do whatever you want, man. Like, I want things to be cool betwixt us. Mm-hmm. Like, be I essentially made a covenant with him. Like, hey, we're going to be cool with me and you. But here, like it said, the Philistines envied him and all the great substance Isaac had, because the wells that Abraham had digged, they had refilled them. They had stopped them and filled them with earth. But you have to even wonder why they did that. But even still to the point, so they couldn't. At this point, the Philistines, instead of being able to, they want him for their own growth, they now can't stand him being there because he's doing so well. Which is kind of sad in some way. Yeah.
16. And Abimelech said unto Isaac, Go from us, for thou art much mightier than we. And Isaac departed thence, and pitched his tent in the valley of Gerar, and dwelt there. And Isaac digged again the wells of water, which they had digged in the days of Abraham his father. For the Philistines had stopped them after the death of Abraham, and he called their names after the names by which his father had called them. And Isaac's servants digged in the valley, and found there a well of springing water. And the herdmen of Gerar did strive with Isaac's herdmen, saying, The water is ours. And he called the name of the well Esek, because they strove with him. And they digged another well, and strove for that also. And he called the name of it Sitnah. And he removed from thence, and digged another well. And from that they strove not. And he called the name of it Rehoboth. And he said, For now the Lord hath made room for us, and we shall be fruitful in the land. And he went up from thence to Beersheba. And the Lord appeared unto him the same night, and said, I am the God of Abraham thy father. Fear not, for I am with thee, and will bless thee, and multiply thy seed for my servant Abraham's sake. And he built an altar there, and called upon the name of the Lord, and pitched his tent there. And there Isaac's servants digged a well. Then Abimelech went to him from Gerar, and Ahuzzath, one of his friends, and Phicol, the chief captain of his army. And Isaac said unto them, Wherefore come ye to see me, seeing ye hate me, and have sent me away from you? And they said, We saw certainly that the Lord was with thee. And we said, Let there be now an oath betwixt us, even betwixt us and thee, and let us make a covenant with thee, that thou wilt do us no hurt, as we have not touched thee, and as we have done unto thee nothing but good, and have sent thee away in peace. Thou art now the blessed of the Lord. And he made them a feast, and they did eat and drink. And they rose up betimes in the morning, and sware one to another. And Isaac sent them away, and they departed from him in peace. And it came to pass the same day that Isaac's servants came, and told him concerning the well which they had digged, and said unto him, We have found water. And he called it Sheba. Therefore the name of the city is Beersheba unto this day. And Esau was 40 years old when he took to wife Judah, the daughter of Beeri the Hittite, and Bashemath, the daughter of Elon the Hittite, which were a grief of mind unto Isaac and to Rebekah.
Yeah. Yeah, but even here, you have him like... I love that it even really ends up playing the same way with Isaac and the Philistines, the people of Gerar, the same way as it sort of did with Abraham, where, like, I mean, it's differently in that the herdmen here, like, they fought with Isaac, like, his herdmen a lot more. Like, they fought over Esek, they fought over Sitnah, they didn't fight over Rehoboth, good for them, but it seems like, from what we can read and what we can tell, there's a bit more of a hassle. But it still comes to the same point that, like, hey, we're making a covenant, things are going to be good between, like, we may have disagreements, stuff may happen, because even we saw at one point there was a dispute over a well, even with Abimelech and Abraham. But, like, hey, things are going to be cool betwixt us. But I also really do love the end note of not only just, like, seeing how, like, Beersheba came to be about, because even in the city we see a lot, but Esau getting married to Hittites. And just the note of there were a grief of mind to Isaac and to Rebekah. You have to wonder what the daughter with Judith and Bashemath were like. But even I think it also opens up an interesting point of even what Abraham said before about Isaac getting married to Rebekah. Where just like, I do not want my son getting married to like the Canaanite women, like these women in Canaan. Like, I want to go back to home and pull someone from there. And that even just, like, makes me think back to, like, even just, like, who was, like, serving the Lord during the, like, you know what I mean? Just the things of, like, the land of Canaan. Or, like, even just, like, Sodom. If you remember just a few years ago, Sodom was in this area. Like, Sodom, Gomorrah were here. So how wicked was this area of Canaan? That, you know, that, like, he's just, like, purely, I don't want anyone. Because that's even something the Lord talks about in general, like, in the law and stuff, where it's like, I do, like, originally Israel when they were coming out of Egypt, and he was taking them through the wilderness, he was taking them to the land of Canaan. He said to them, I don't want you guys marrying any of the women from there, because they will take you and they will draw you away from the Lord your God, and they'll draw you to their gods. Whereas the same thing where he's like, where the Lord was concerned that if they were to marry like other women not from Israel at that point in time, that they would be drawn away from the Lord. Not because they were like not of the same nation, but just simply because those people didn't know God at that point. And like we even see like how that sort of changes a little bit in the New Testament, where you have like for example like Timothy, where his father was a Greek and his mother was, I didn't say what tribe, I didn't say she was a Jewess, meaning like she was from Israel. But all still to the point, they both were believers. They both believed in God, they both believed in Christ. But even then, still to the point, it's funny to see how like Isaac married like within the family, and we know Jacob ended up doing the same thing too. But Esau, he married some Hittites. Yeah. That being said, I think we go chapter 27. Yeah. Genesis 27 and verse 1. And it came to pass that when Isaac was old, and his eyes were dim, so that he could not see, he called Esau his eldest son, and said to him, My son. And he said to him, Behold, here am I. And he said, Behold now, I am old. I know not the day of my death. At this point, we know Isaac was 60 when he had the kids. Esau at this point, like I said last chapter, he was 40 when he got married. So Isaac's at least 100 at this point. So like, yeah, he's close to death. Verse 3. Now therefore take, I pray thee, thy weapons, thy quiver, and thy bow, and go out to the field, and take me some venison, and make me savory meat, such as I love, and bring it to me that I may eat, that my soul may bless thee before I die. And Rebekah heard when Isaac spake to Esau his son. And Esau went to the field to hunt for venison, and to bring it. And Rebekah spake unto Jacob her son, saying, Behold, I heard thy father speak unto Esau thy brother, saying, Bring me venison, and make me savory meat, that I may eat, and bless thee before the Lord before my death. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice according to that which I command thee. Go now to the flock, and fetch me from thence 2 kids of the goats, and I will make them savory meat for thy father, such as he loveth. And thou shalt bring it to thy father, that he may eat, and that he may bless thee before his death. And Jacob said to Rebekah his mother, Behold, Esau my brother is an hairy man, and I am a smooth man. My father peradventure will feel me, and I shall seem to him as a deceiver. And I will bring a curse upon me, and not a blessing. And his mother said to him, Upon me be thy curse, my son. Only obey my voice, and go fetch me them. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat, such as his father loved. So Isaac is basically told Esau, like, hey, before I bless you, I want to go get this stuff. Rebekah over here is basically trying to get Isaac to pretend to be Esau, get the stuff, and give it to his father, so that he can get the blessing instead of Esau. Which is a little crazy, also because at this point he has the birthright. So he could really just kind of say, hey, Esau sold me the birthright. He's technically not the firstborn. I should be getting the blessing. But even then, so he goes along with what his mother tells him to do, because she even goes as far as saying, "Hey, if the curse is brought upon you, let the curse be upon me. Just do what I'm telling you." 14. And he went and fetched and brought them to his mother, and his mother made savory meat such as his father loved. And Rebekah took goodly raiment of her eldest son Esau, which were with her in the house, and put them upon Jacob her younger son. And she put the skins of the kids of the goats upon his hands, and upon the smooth of his neck. And she gave the savory meat and the bread which she had prepared into the hand of her son Jacob. And he said unto his father, and he came unto his father, and said, My father. And he said, Here am I. Who art thou, my son? And Jacob said unto his father, I am Esau, thy firstborn. I have done according as thou badest me. Arise, I pray thee, sit and eat of my venison, that thy soul may bless me. And Isaac said unto his son, How is it that thou hast found it so quickly, my son? And he said, Because the Lord thy God brought it to me. And Isaac said unto Jacob, Come near, I pray thee, that I may feel thee, my son, whether thou be my very son Esau or not. And Jacob went nearer to Isaac his father, and he felt him, and said, The voice is Jacob's voice, but the hands are the hands of Esau. And he discerned him not, because his hands were hairy, as his brother Esau's hands. So he blessed them. So he was like wearing the disguise. So Jacob was able to convince Isaac. 24. And he said, Art thou my very son Isaac? Art thou my very son Esau? And he said, I am. And he said, Bring it near to me, and I'll eat of my son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And he brought it near to him, and he did eat. And he brought him wine, and he drank. And his father Isaac said unto him, Come near now, and kiss me, my son. And he came near and kissed him. And he smelled the smell of his raiment, and blessed him, and said, See, the smell of my son is as the smell of a field which the Lord hath blessed. Therefore God give thee of the dew of heaven, and the fatness of the earth, and plenty of corn and wine. Let people serve thee, and nations bow down to thee. Be Lord over thy brethren, and let thy mother's sons bow down to thee. Cursed be every one that curseth thee, and blessed be he that blesseth thee. And it came to pass, as soon as Isaac had made an end of blessing Jacob, and Jacob was yet scarce gone out from the presence of Isaac, his father, that Esau, his brother, came in from his hunting. So Isaac's gotten the blessing. And he's dipped. Immediately Esau comes in. And he also had made savory meat, and brought it unto his father. And said unto his father, Let my father arise, and eat of his son's venison, that my soul may bless thee. And Isaac his father said unto him, Who art thou? And he said, I am thy son, thy firstborn Esau. And Isaac trembled very exceedingly, and said, Who? Where is he that hath taken venison, and brought it me? When I eat him all before thou camest, and have blessed him. Yea, and he shall be blessed. And when Esau heard the words of his father, he cried with a great exceeding bitter cry, and said unto his father, Bless me, even me also, O my father. And he said, Thy brother came with subtlety, and hath taken away thy blessing. And he said, Is not he rightly named Jacob? For he hath supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he hath taken away my blessing. And he said, Hast thou not reserved the blessing for me? So even here, Esau's kind of shifting blame a little. He's taken my birthright. The book directly says he sold it to him. Very clearly, the book says he despised it because, he sold it for a pot of lentil stew. But here it's like he took my blessing, even though, again, the birthright isn't yours, so the blessing isn't yours either, because you're technically not the heir, even if you are technically the firstborn. But he's asked, do you have not a blessing? Is there nothing left for me? 37. And Isaac answered and said unto Esau, Behold, I have made him thy lord, and all his brethren have I given to him for servants. And with corn and wine have I sustained him. What shall I do now unto thee, my son? And Esau said unto his father, Hast thou but one blessing, my father? Bless me, even me also, O my father. And Esau lifted up his voice and wept. And Isaac his father answered and said unto him, Behold, thy dwelling shall be the fatness of the earth, and of the dew of heaven from above. And by thy sword shalt thou live, and thou shalt serve thy brother. And it shall come to pass, when thou shalt have the dominion, that thou shalt break his yoke from off thy neck. And Esau hated Jacob because of the blessing wherewith his father blessed him. And Esau said in his heart, The days of mourning for my father are at hand, then will I slay my brother Jacob. So Esau's mad. 42. And these words of Esau, her elder son, were told to Rebekah. But she sent and called Jacob her younger son, and said unto him, Behold, thy brother Esau, as touching thee, doth comfort himself, purposing to kill thee. Now therefore, my son, obey my voice and arise. Flee thou to Laban my brother to Haran, and tarry with him a few days, until thy brother's fury turn away, until thy brother's anger turn away from thee, and he forget that which thou hast done to him. Then I will send and fetch thee from thence. Why should I be deprived also of you both in one day? And Rebekah said to Isaac, I am weary of my life, because of the daughters of Heth. If Jacob take a wife for the daughters of Heth, such as these which are the daughters of the land, what good hath my life do? What good shall my life do? Alright. So now Jacob is Jacob is told to flee unto Laban's house again, like Laban, Rebecca's brother, from a few chapters back, because like Esau's ready to kill him because Jacob got the blessing. And even we'll see that the blessing isn't even, it's not that like he was just given a lot of land or he was given, it's this covenant that the Lord has passed down from, he's given it to Abraham, it was passed to Isaac, and we saw that a few chapters ago as well. It goes on to Jacob. Spoilers a little bit, but Jacob gets renamed Israel, and that's where like Israel, the nation, the people of Israel, all that comes from. It's therefore named after Jacob, or his name was changed to Israel. But like that is what he gets, and he's just blessed to do well. And that's essentially, he's blessed to basically be favored by the Lord. But that's really the Lord's choosing, right? And that's even why before the kids were even born, the Lord had already told them really what the play was. And the younger is going to be greater than the elder. I'm going to be blessing the same as what the Lord had done with Ishmael and Isaac. Isaac is the one through who your seed is called. Isaac is the one I'm looking to. I'm not looking to Ishmael, where it was really the same thing with Jacob. Jacob is going to be the greater of the two. Jacob is the guy who's going to be getting the blessing, and he's going to be the one that I am going to bless, and I'm going to change his name to Israel, and so on and so forth. But still, so this blessing means a lot more than even just like sometimes we just look at it plainly. There's a lot more than that. But even this blessing that Esau received from his father Isaac, hey, you'll serve your brother, and then you'll break his yoke from off of you. We'll even see that later on in the Bible, even in books like Obadiah, that's talked specifically about how Edom, basically, how the Lord was angry with Edom because how they did their brother dirty during times of like Israel's like suffering. Again, like trying to like get up over on them. But yeah. So now I think it's all really for 27. So now we go to chapter 28.
Alright, I'll read 28. Cool. 28 in verse 1. And Isaac called Jacob and blessed him, and charged him, and said unto him, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan. Arise, go to Padan Aram, to the house of Bethuel thy mother's father, and take thee a wife from thence of the daughters of Laban thy mother's brother. And God Almighty bless thee, and make thee fruitful, and multiply thee, that thou mayest be a multitude of people, and give thee the blessings of Abraham to thee and to thy seed with thee, that thou mayest inherit the land wherein thou art a stranger, which God gave unto Abraham. And Isaac sent away Jacob, and he went to Padan Aram, unto Laban, son of Bethuel the Syrian, the brother of Rebekah, Jacob and Esau's mother. When Esau saw that Isaac had blessed Jacob, and sent him away to Padan Aram to take him a wife from thence, and that as he blessed him, he gave him a charge, saying, Thou shalt not take a wife of the daughters of Canaan, and that Jacob obeyed his father and his mother, and was gone to Padan Aram. And Esau, seeing that the daughters of Canaan pleased not Isaac his father, then went Esau unto Ishmael, and took unto the wives which he had Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, Abraham's son, the sister of Nebaioth, to be his wife. And Jacob went out from Beersheba, and went towards Haran. And he lighted up a certain place, and tarried there all night, because the sun was set. And he took of the stones of that place, and put them for his pillows, and lay down in that place to sleep. And he dreamed, and behold, a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord stood above it, and said, I am the Lord God of thy father. I am the Lord God of Abraham thy father, and the God of Isaac. The land whereon thou liest, to thee will I give it, and to thy seed. And thy seed shall be as the dust of the earth, and shall spread abroad to the west, and to the east, and to the north. and to the south. And in thee and in thy seed shall all the families of the earth be blessed. And behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in all places whither thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land. For I will not leave thee until I have done that which I have spoken to thee of. And Jacob awaked out of his sleep, and said, Surely the Lord is in this place, and I knew it not. And he was afraid, and said, How dreadful is this place! This is none other but the house of God, and this is the gate of heaven. And Jacob rose up early in the morning, and took the stone that he had put for his pillows, and set it up for a pillar, and poured oil upon the top of it. And he called the name of that place Bethel, but the name of the city was first called Luz at the first. And Jacob vowed a vow, saying, If God will be with me, and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace, then shall the Lord be my God. And this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house. And of all thou shalt give me, I will surely give the tent unto thee. Yeah.
All right. I mean, yeah. So we pick off exactly where we left off with 27. Jacob runs away to Laban. On Esau, I love Esau. Like 6 through sort of 9, misinterpreting. Like we see before, even with Esau marrying the Hittites, and even just Abraham saying, "I don't want Isaac to marry from the women in Canaan." That I guess again, it's the same thing of Sodom and Gomorrah's here. So I guess it was just that wicked even around this area. And that was also true of the women too, I guess. But Esau was like, "Oh, okay, I'll just marry some Ishmaelites." So he took wives from Ishmael, Mahalath, the daughter of Ishmael, the sister of Nebajoth. But even then, Jacob goes out to Beersheba. Leaves Beersheba, and he goes to a place that's now throughout the Bible is referred to Bethel a lot. And here we have the same thing as that we saw with Isaac, that the Lord is confirming his covenant with Jacob. We're saying the same thing. Hey, if you will follow me, if you will listen, so on and so forth, I will multiply your seed as the dust of the earth. Through you and through your seed, again, really being Christ, all the earth will be blessed. He said, "Behold, I am with thee, and will keep thee in the place where thou goest, and will bring thee again into this land, for I will not leave thee until I've done that which I've spoken to thee of." And Jacob even ends it off by saying the same thing. He's like, "Hey, you will be my God, and I will do everything in my power to serve. I will serve you if you do that thing. If I come back here safely, if you do what you said I'm going to come back here. If I come back here healthy and safe, because remember he's still on the run from his crazy brother." He's like, if that happens, you will be my God. In 22, this stone which I have set for a pillar shall be God's house. Of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give the tenth unto thee. And this is even a reference back to Abraham, his grandfather, who gave a tenth to Melchizedek, which we know really to be Christ, right? And then even in the future, to where Israel would tithe 10%, or give a tenth, which they'll call tithe, to the Lord, and giving it to Levites, giving it to the tribe of Levi, who would use that money to take care of the Lord's house, take care of the Lord's business. So yeah, it's just the fulfilling of the covenant. Jacob on the run, and he's getting ready to see Laban once again. That old character, but yeah, I think we go ahead to 29. All right. Genesis 29 and verse 1. Then Jacob went on his journey and came into the land of the people of the east. And he looked, and behold, a well in the field, and lo, there were 3 flocks of sheep lying by it. For out of that well they watered the flocks, and a great stone was upon the well's mouth. And thither were all the flocks gathered, and they rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the sheep, and put the stone again upon the well's mouth in his place. And Jacob said to them, "My brethren, whence be ye?" And they said, of Haran are we? And he said to them, know ye Laban the son of Nahor? And they said, we know him. He said unto them, is he well? And they said, he is well. And behold, Rachel his daughter cometh with the sheep. And he said, lo, it is yet high day, neither is it time that the cattle should be gathered together. Water ye the sheep, and go and feed them. And they said, we cannot until all the flocks be gathered together, until they roll the stone from the well's mouth, then we water the sheep. And while he yet spake with them, Rachel came with her father's sheep, for she kept them. And it came to pass, when Jacob saw Rachel the daughter of Laban his mother's brother, and the sheep of Laban his mother's brother, and Jacob went near and rolled the stone from the well's mouth, and watered the flock of Laban his mother's brother. And Jacob kissed Rachel, and lifted up his voice and wept. And Jacob told Rachel that he was Jacob told Rachel that he was her father's brother, and that he was Rebekah's son. And she ran and told her father. So now Jacob's found his cousin, Rachel. It came to pass, when Laban heard the tidings of Jacob his sister's son, that he ran to meet him, and embraced him, and kissed him, and brought him to his house. And he told Laban all these things. And Laban said to him, surely thou art my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. And Laban said unto Jacob, because thou art my brother, shouldst thou therefore serve me for naught? Tell me, what shall thy wages be? So he's like, hey, let me give you something. You've been here for a month, like you're working here. So what do you want? And Laban had 2 daughters. The name of the elder was Leah, and the name of the younger was Rachel. Leah was tender-eyed, but Rachel was beautiful and well-favored. So Leah was tender-eyed, and Rachel looked very nice. And Jacob loved Rachel, and said, I will serve thee 7 years for Rachel, thy younger daughter. And Laban said, it is better that I give her to thee, than I should give her to another man. Abide with me. So he's like, hey, I want your daughter Rachel. He's like, cool, it's better I give her to you than anyone else. So he's already doing what his mother wanted him to do. They'll take a wife from here rather than from the land of Canaan. Verse 20. And Jacob served 7 years for Rachel, and they seemed unto him but a few days for the love he had to her. So he fulfilled, as he said, he fulfilled his week. He did his work in order to marry Rachel. And Jacob said to Laban, give me my wife, for my days are fulfilled, that I may go in unto her. And Laban gathered together all the men of the place, and made a feast. And it came to pass in the evening, that he took Leah his daughter, and brought her to him. And he went in unto her. And Laban gave unto his daughter Leah Zilpah, his maid, for an handmaid. So Laban, this is what I've said a few times, Laban being the man that he is, he's a little crafty. He prepares this big feast for you can think of their wedding, right? For Rachel and Jacob to get married. But I don't know, but he got Jacob very drunk before that point. But in the evening, right, when it was time to give his daughter away, have him to get married, he gave him Leah instead of Rachel. He just gave him the other daughter. Crazy. But we'll even see what Laban's whole response to this is. So verse 25. And it came to pass that in the morning, behold, it was Leah. So Jacob wakes up, you're not Rachel, you're Leah. And he said to Laban, what is this that thou hast done to me? Did I not serve with thee for Rachel? Wherefore then hast thou beguiled me? So he's mad. He's like, wait, dude, I was trying to marry your other daughter. Why did you give me her? 26. And Laban said, it must not be so done in our country, to give the younger before the firstborn. Say, hey, I'm not supposed to give the younger before the firstborn, so I had to give you the firstborn instead. Fulfill her week, and we will give thee this also for the service, which thou shalt serve with me yet 7 other years. So he's like, okay, well, you have that one now. So basically you paid for her with your 7 years. So if you want to marry Rachel, I'll give her to you too, but you have to work another 7 years. So he's basically tricked Jacob and to marry his other daughter is now saying, hey, you have to work 7 more years. 28. And Jacob did so. Jacob did it. It fulfilled her week. And he gave him Rachel, his daughter, to wife also. And Laban gave to Rachel, his daughter, Bilhah, his handmaid, to be her maid. And he went in also unto Rachel, and he loved also Rachel more than Leah, and served with him yet 7 other years. So even 7 years after the other 7, he served with Laban. It's like he loved Rachel so much. He loved Rachel more than Leah, which is a bit sad, but it's also fair because that was the one he was trying to marry. 31. And when the Lord saw that Leah was hated, he opened her womb, but Rachel was barren. And Leah conceived and bare a son, and she called his name Reuben. For she said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction. Now therefore my husband will love me. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, because the Lord hath heard that I was hated, he hath therefore given me this son also. And she called his name Simeon. And she conceived again and bare a son, and said, now this time will my husband be joined unto me, because I have borne him 3 sons. Therefore was his name called Levi. And she conceived again and bare a son. And she said, now will I praise the Lord. Therefore she called his name Judah, and left barren. So Leah was not, like it says, Leah was hated. But the Lord seeing this is like, well, it's not, of course, not really Leah's fault. So he opens the womb of Leah, and she has 4 kids. She has Reuben, she has Simeon, she has Levi, and Judah. These are like the beginnings of what would end up being the 12 tribes of Israel. Reuben, the eldest, Simeon, Levi, who ended up being like, the priest, Levitical priesthood, Judah, and even like in what you see, what she said, in a way, it's very sad. She said, surely the Lord hath looked upon my affliction, now therefore my husband will love me. She says that in 32. And then she says really the same thing, 33 and 34. With every kid she's had by Jacob, she's like, hey, now Jacob will love me. Which is a really sad thing to read about Leah. Really sad. But even then, still to the point, Jacob has started his life here working with Laban, working for Laban, and he's gotten married to both of his daughters, Leah and Rachel. But that being said, I think we can go ahead and go to chapter 30. This is personally one of my favorites. This is how we start to get the rest of the majority of the rest of the 12 tribes. Baby wars. But yeah.
Alright, 31. And when Rachel saw that she bare Jacob no children, Rachel envied her sister, and said unto Jacob, give me children, or else I die. And Jacob's anger was kindled against Rachel. And he said, am I in God's stead, who hath withheld from thee the fruit of the womb? And she said, behold, my maid Bilhah, go in unto her, and she shall bear upon my knees, that I may also have children by her. And she gave him Bilhah her handmaid to wife, and Jacob went in unto her.
So now we have Rachel trying to compete with her sister so bad and having kids. That I also love, just on the side though, just the argument between Rachel and Jacob. That sounds like a married couple, which is like, hey, give me some kids. He's like, shoot, am I God? Like, I can't make you have kids. Like, I'm trying, Rachel. I can't make it that you're able to have kids. Like, you're barren. I can't do anything about that. But she's so desperate to like compete with her sister. She's like, hey, I have this handmaid. You just marry her and you sleep with her. Her kids count as my kids. So just have kids with her and it'll be the same. Which is crazy. But just like that, it was just that fierce of a competition between them, right? Yeah.
Verse 5, and Bilhah conceived and bare Jacob a son. And Rachel said, God hath judged me, and hath also heard my voice, and hath given me a son. Therefore called she his name Dan. And Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again, and bare Jacob a second son. And Rachel said, with great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I have prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. When Leah saw that she had left bearing, she took Zilpah, her maid, and gave her Jacob to wife. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a son. And Leah said, A troop cometh, and she calleth his name Gad. And Zilpah, Leah's maid, bare Jacob a second son. And Leah said, Happy am I, for the daughters will call me blessed. And she called his name Asher.
You know what's crazy? Leah does the exact same thing. She's like, all right, you take my maid. You'll have kids with her. You'll marry her, have kids, and those kids will count for me. I never noticed this before. Rachel and Leah are the ones naming the children. That's great. I never noticed that before. They literally said those were my kids now. Like in verse 7, and Bilhah, Rachel's maid, conceived again. She bare Jacob a second son. 8. And Rachel said, With great wrestlings have I wrestled with my sister, and I prevailed. And she called his name Naphtali. She named Bilhah's son Naphtali. And you see the same in verse 6. She named him Dan. And then you look at Leah in verse 11 and verse 12. She named him Gad. And then in verse 13, she named him Asher. So they were the ones naming them, which is, those to them, those were really their kids. That was their child, which I think also shows just how deep some envy and jealousy can go. It's shoot out even if you think about from today's world, or even sure if you thought about from back then, I was that doesn't make a great deal of sense. But, yeah, that's all I wanted to say about that.
Well, verse 14, and Reuben went in the days of wheat harvest, and found mandrakes in the field, and brought them unto his mother Leah. Then Rachel said to Leah, Give me, I pray thee, of thy son's mandrakes. And she said unto her, Is it a small matter that thou hast taken my husband? And wouldest thou also take away my son's mandrakes also? And Rachel said, Therefore he shall lie with thee tonight for thy son's mandrakes. And Jacob came out of the field in the evening, and Leah went out to meet him, and said, Thou must come in unto me, for surely I have hired thee with my son's mandrakes. And he lay with her that night. And God hearkened unto Leah, and she conceived and bare Jacob the 5th son. And Leah said, God hath given me my hire, because I have given my maiden to my husband. And she called his name Issachar. And Leah conceived again and bare Jacob the 6th son. And Leah said, God hath endued me with a good dowry. Now will my husband dwell with me, because I have borne him 6 sons. And she called his name Zebulun. And afterwards she bare a daughter, and called her name Dinah. And God remembered Rachel, and God hearkened to her, and opened her womb. And she conceived and bare a son, and said, God hath taken away my reproach. And she called his name Joseph, and said, The Lord shall add to me another son. And it came to pass, when Rachel had borne Joseph, that Jacob said unto Leah, Send me away, that I may go unto mine own place, and to mine own country. Give me my wives and my children, for whom I have served thee, and let me go. For thou knowest my service which I have done thee. And Laban said unto him, I pray thee, if I have found favor in thine eyes, tarry. For I have learned by experience that the Lord hath blessed me for thy sake.
Right. So now, they've had 11 of the 12 tribes. Then even the crazy instant of Jacob being hired for the night with mandrakes. If you don't, mandrakes are basically they're almost like carrots. Just in the way that they're just herbs, roots that just grow in the ground. But even then, they had all their kids, and now he's trying to leave, and he's trying to get him to stay because Laban was smart enough to know. Even think about the Abimelech with Abraham, the Philistines. They're hey, this man is the reason my kingdom's doing well. And Laban's I know I am blessed because you're here. So he's please don't leave.
That was it.
Yeah. verse 28.
All right. And Jacob did so and fulfilled her week. No. My bad. 28. And he said, appoint me thy wages, and I will give it. And he said unto him, thou knowest that I have served thee, and how thy cattle was with me. For it was little which thou hadst before I came, and it is now increased unto a multitude. And the Lord hath blessed thee since my coming. And now, whence shall I provide for mine own house also? And he said, what shall I give thee? And Jacob said, thou shalt not give me anything. If thou wilt do this thing for me, I will again feed and keep thy flock. I will pass through all thy flock today, removing from this all the speckled and spotted cattle, and all the brown cattle amongst the sheep, and the spotted and speckled among the goats, and of such shall be my hire. So shall my righteousness answer for me in time to come, when it shall come for my hire before thy face. Every one that is not speckled and spotted among the goats, and brown among the sheep, that shall be counted stolen with me. And Laban said, behold, I would it might be according to thy word. And he removed that day the he-goats that were ring-straight and spotted, and all the she-goats that were speckled and spotted, and every one that had some white in it, and all the brown among the sheep, and gave them into the hands of his sons. And he set 3 days' journey betwixt himself and Jacob fed the rest of Laban's flocks. And Jacob took him rods of green poplar, and of the hazel and the chestnut tree, and piled white strakes in them, and made the white appear which was in the rods. And he set the rods which he hath peeled before the flocks, in the gutters, in the watering troughs, when the flocks came to drink, that they should conceive when they came to drink. And the flocks conceived before the rods, and brought forth cattle, ring-straight, speckled and spotted. And Jacob did separate the lambs, and set the faces of the flocks towards the ring-straight, and all the brown in the flock of Laban. And he put his own flocks by themselves, and put them not unto Laban's cattle. And it came to pass, whensoever the stronger cattle did conceive, that Jacob laid the rods before the eyes of the cattle in the gutters, that they might conceive among the rods. But when the cattle were feeble, he put them not in. So the feeble were Laban's, and the stronger Jacob's. And the man increased exceedingly, and had much cattle, and maidservants, and menservants, and camels, and asses.
All right, yeah. So, like, here, even we just have, like, in order to get Jacob to stay, he's just like, hey, like, dude, what do you want? And Jacob's like, hey, I'll just take all of your speckled and spotted cattle, your brown cattle, and sheep, the spotted and speckled. That basically, you could think of that in, like, a herdman's world to be, like, the worst of the world. Like, to be the bad and, like, the poor, like pieces. Like, you think of like that as like the worst cutlet of the meat, right? So Laban's like, yeah, sure, man. Like, if that's all you want, yeah, go take that, right? But Jacob, being the ever smart, I don't know if conniving is the right word, but like ever playing man he is, with the whole bit with the rods, what he did was, now, I guess you consider, like, the rods of green poplar and hazelnut and chestnut tree. You could think of them as, like, I guess, like an aphrodisiac, to the point where whenever you put them with the cattle, they would want to reproduce, right? They would want to have kids. So he would take Laban's cattle and get it to where they would reproduce with his speckled cattle. So basically, all of Laban's cows that he had was speckled and spotted, which meant he would get it. And then whenever there would be the big, juicy, like the big, giant cattle, he would get them to reproduce with his speckled cattle, and like have it that the weaker ones weren't reproducing with his cattle. That way, like all the speckled cattle that were born were also really strong, which means he actually could like use them for stuff as well as like, they produce a lot more meat. But still all to the point. So he just used these methods to where he just got more and more of the speckled cattle and more wealth, which is really, really smart thing to do. Which is like the man increased exceedingly and had a bunch of cattle, maid servants, and men servants. So he's basically just getting his money out of it right now. But yeah, I think that's all for Genesis 30. I think now we can go to Genesis 31. Yeah, let's pick it up. Genesis 31 and verse 1. And he heard the words of Laban's son, saying, Jacob hath taken away all that was our father's, and of that which was our father's hath he gotten all this glory. And Jacob beheld the countenance of Laban, behold, it was not toward him as before. So now people are really starting to get mad about what's going on, that he's starting to do really well. And the Lord said unto Jacob, return into the land of thy fathers, and to thy kindred, and I will be with thee. And Jacob sent and called Rachel, and lay into the field unto his flock. And said to them, I see your father's countenance, that is not toward me as before, but the God of my father hath been with me. And ye know that with all my power I have served your father. And your father hath deceived me, and changed my wages 10 times. But God suffereth him not to hurt me. So Laban's been incredibly deceiving, and he's just trying to get out of there. 8. If he said thus, the speckle shall be thy wages, then all the cattle bear speckle. And if he said thus, the ringstrak shall be thy hire, then bear all the cattle ringstrak. Thus God hath taken away the cattle of your father, and given them to me. And it came to pass at the time that the cow conceived, that I lifted up mine eyes and saw in a dream. And behold, the rams which leaped upon the cow were ringstrak, speckled, and bristled. And the angel of God spake unto me in the dream, saying, Jacob. And I said, Here am I. And he said, Lift up now thine eyes, and see, all the rams which leap upon the cattle are ringstrak, speckled, and bristled. For I have seen all that Laban hath done to thee. I am the God of Bethel, where thou anointest the pillar, and where thou vowest a vow unto me. Now arise, get thee out from this land, and return to the land of thy kindred. And Rachel and Leah answered and said to him, Is there yet any portion or inheritance for us in our father's house? Or we're ready to leave too. 15. Are we not counted of him strangers? For he hath sold us, and hath quite devoured also our money. For all the riches which God had taken from our father, that is ours, and our children's. Now then, whatsoever God hath said unto thee, do. Then Jacob rose up, and set his sons and his wives upon camels. And he carried away all his cattle, and all his goods, which he had gotten, the cattle of his getting, which he had gotten in Paddan-aram, for to go to Isaac his father in the land of Canaan. And Laban went to shear his sheep, and Rachel had stolen the images that were her father. So the image, like the idols, Rachel had stolen from Laban. 20. And Jacob stole away unawares to Laban the Syrian, and that he told him not that he fled. So he fled with all that he had, and he rose up and passed over the river, and set his face toward Mount Gilead. And it was told Laban on the 3rd day that Jacob was fled. And he took his brethren with him, and pursued after him 7 days' journey. And they overtook him in the Mount Gilead. And God came to Laban the Syrian in a dream by night, and said unto him, Take heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. Then Laban overtook Jacob. Now Jacob had pitched his tent in the mount, and Laban with his brethren pitched in the Mount of Gilead. And Laban said to Jacob, What hast thou done that thou hast stolen away unawares to me, and carried away my daughters, as captives taken with a sword? Wherefore didst thou flee away secretly, and steal away from me, and didst not tell me, that I might have sent thee away with mirth, and with songs, with tabret, and with harp? And hast not suffered me to kiss my sons and my daughters. Thou hast now done foolishly in so doing. It is in the power of my hand, and do you hurt. But the God of your father spake unto me yesternight, saying, Take thou heed that thou speak not to Jacob either good or bad. And now, though thou wouldest needs be gone, because thou sore longest after thy father's house, yet wherefore hast thou stolen my gods? And Jacob answered and said to Laban, Because I was afraid. For I said, Peradventure thou wouldst take by force thy daughters from me. With whomsoever thou findest thy idols, let not live. Because Jacob didn't know they were taken, let alone they were taken by Rachel. So he said, Hey, whoever that's of me. like you get it. Before our brethren discern thou what is thine with me, and take it to thee. For Jacob knew not that Rachel had stolen it. And Laban went into Jacob's tent, and into Leah's tent, and into the two maidservants' tent, but he found them not. Then went he out of Leah's tent, and entered into Rachel's tent. Now Rachel had taken the images, and put them in the camel's furniture, and sat upon them. And Laban searched all the tent, and found them not. And she said to her father, Let not this please my lord, that I cannot rise upon thee, for the custom of women is upon me. So it's basically saying, I have my period, so I can't get up in order to hide the idols. And he searched, but found not the images. And Jacob was wroth, and showed with Laban, argued with him. And Jacob answered, and said to Laban, What is my trespass? What is my sin, that thou hast so hotly pursued after me? Whereas thou hast searched all my stuff. What hast thou found of all thy household stuff? Set it here before my brethren and thy brethren, that they may judge betwixt us both. This 20 years have I been with thee. Thy ewes and thy she-goats have not cast their young, and the rams of thy flock have I not eaten. That which was torn of beasts I brought not unto thee. I bear the loss of it. Of my hand this I require, whether stolen by day or stolen by night. Thus I was in the day the drought consumed me, and the frost by night, and my sleep departed from mine eyes. Thus have I been 20 years in thy house. I served thee 14 years for thy 2 daughters, and 6 years for thy cattle. And thou hast changed my wages 10 times. Except the God of my father, the God of Abraham, and the fear of Isaac have been with me. Surely thou hast sent me away now empty. God hath seen my affliction and the labor of my hands, and rebuked thee yesternight. And Laban answered and said to Jacob, These daughters are my daughters, and these children are my children, and these cattle are my cattle, and all that thou seest is mine. And what can I do this day unto these my daughters, or unto their children which they have borne? Now therefore come thou, let us make a covenant, I and thou, and let it be for witness between me and thee. So Laban's saying, like, hey, dude, all you have is mine too. Like, that's your wife, but that's my daughter. Those are your kids, but those are my granddaughters. I'm not trying to destroy you. Like, I don't want to kill you or, like, break up down any of your stuff. Your stuff is also my stuff. So, like, let's make a covenant and, like, let's be cool, essentially. 45. And Jacob took a stone and set it up for a pillar. And Jacob said unto his brethren, Gather stones. And they took stones and made an heap. And they did eat there upon the heap. And Laban called it Jegar Sahadutha. But Jacob called it Gilead. And Laban said, This heap is a witness between me and thee this day. Therefore was the name of it called Gilead. And Mizpah. For he said, The Lord watch between me and thee when we are absent one from another. If thou shalt afflict my daughters, or if thou shalt take other wives beside my daughters, no man is with us. See, God is witness betwixt me and thee. So he's like, hey, God's the witness between us. So whether I am there or not, like, it will be known, which is really how every vow works, or anything that you promise or you just say in general. Then that's really how lies work, where whether the person believes you or not, God always knows, and he's always going to hold you accountable to it. But verse 51, And Laban said to Jacob, Behold this heap, and behold this pillar, which I have cast betwixt me and thee. This heap be witness, and this pillar be witness, that I will not pass over this heap to thee, and that thou shalt not pass over this heap and this pillar unto me for harm. The God of Abraham, the God of Nahor, the God of their father, judge betwixt us. And Jacob sware by the fear of his father Isaac. Then Jacob offered sacrifice upon the mount, and called his brethren to eat bread. And they did eat bread, and tarried all night in the mount. And early in the morning Laban rose up, and kissed his sons and his daughters, and blessed them. And Laban departed, and returned unto his place. Alright, yeah. We just have Laban and Jacob metaphorically come to blows. We just all of a sudden like, yeah, you changed my wages 10 times. And like, is that like, again, talking about even before, it's like Laban, we even saw back in like Isaac's day, just how like he would like, try to like get Rachel to stay for like, like that's just how we saw he even was back then. But we see that's how he kept doing Jacob over, and with Leah and the Rachel, changing the wages, and even with how he approached Demir. But also, still to the point, they made a covenant. There's peace between them and said, hey, we're not going to be coming against each other for harm. And yeah. And with that, Jacob starts to make his way back to his homeland, back to where Isaac and Rebekah were, back to the land of Canaan. But I think here 31 is a good place to stop, because I think in 32 and whatnot we start to get into Esau. I think that's like back to like their reunion, and then from there you just get more into their mess. So I think 31 is a good place to stop. So yeah, today I think we covered a great deal. We covered basically all of Isaac's adult life. We got into Jacob. We saw not only did we see Isaac get the covenant, we saw the covenant be passed from Isaac to Jacob. We got to saw Esau, and we get to see how Jacob and Esau throughout the Bible have sort of a lot of the battles. They have rivalries, they have wars. There's a lot of discourse between them, and this is where we see even the discourse first begin, even just within Rebecca's womb, quite literally. So yeah, there was a lot to get from today's reading. It just got through a lot of it. So, as always, thank you for being here. Thank you for joining us. Always remember to study, show yourself approved, work out your own salvation. Work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. Read all the book, read for yourself. It's like so many of the Proverbs we read, even today, Proverbs 6. The Word of God, it's good for instruction, is the way of life, is the tree of life, and so on and so forth. But with that, I think call it, have a good night.